Hello, everybody.
Hi, Asa.
S- So today I'm going to be talking about some advanced rickrolling techniques. Some of you guys might think you're good at rickrolling. I assure you I'm better. But the reason I wanted to give this talk was, oh, I forgot I have a who am I. I'll do that later. The reason why I wanted to do this talk was I was crafting a rickroll payload, which is something I apparently do. And I realized it reminded me a lot of a technique I had seen at my job at in a SOC at Security Risk Advisors. I had seen a real threat actor abusing the same techniques I was using for rickrolling. So it made me think, are there any other techniques that are in the wild that we can learn about through the art of making people watch a wonderful music video? I also thought it was funny. Yeah, Kyle, what's up? He asked if during this presentation there will be a Rickroll. Um, I will be demoing many Rickroll links, so probably. I swear I'll try to keep it brief. I promise. And then like Rickrolling is like 90% of my personality, so I gotta fit in one Rickroll presentation at least once. So I'll go back to my who am I. I'm a fourth year CSEC bachelor's student, about to graduate. I'm so close. I'm almost there. I'm in the honors program. I'm originally from Texas, so talk to me about that if you're going to somewhere in Texas. There's lots of cool stuff in Austin. I'd love to talk to you all about that. I've been on the CCDC team for 4 years. Um, we're about to go to regionals here. And then I work in threat intelligence and the cyber SOC at Security Risk Advisors. I'm also a mentor. Those are closed, so if you want to do that, sorry. Better luck next year. And then just other hobbies are I love baking and failing to keep plants alive. So just some like literally CSEC 140, really rapid fire. What is phishing? It's social engineering people into giving you information they probably didn't want to. Um, a lot of times you'll see people phishing for account credentials. So give me your Microsoft account, pretty please. Put it in this nice website that looks very close to the real Microsoft login page. And then I have it and I can go do bad things with your account. I'm also going to be talking quite a bit about pretense, which is why you should click my link. So you'll see things like, hey, I'm doing this giveaway, free $1 million. I'm a Nigerian prince who must get this money out of the country. Stuff like that. But then you'll also see stuff like, hey, your package isn't going to be delivered. Click this link to fix it. Or, hey, we're about to delete your entire account. Please click this link and sign in so that we can not do that. So common themes you will see are a sense of urgency. Something's happening very soon and impending loss. You're about to lose something. So your account's about to go away. Your package is about to go away. You're about to lose something unless you really quickly, without thinking, click on this link and sign in. Because they want to bypass your critical thinking and make you scared about what's going to happen in the future and think less about what's happening right now. You'll also see like an attacker has something you want, so you should do what they want to help them out. And finally, I would just like to include a prayer to the demo gods. I have quite a few, as I said earlier, I have quite a few links that I'm going to be live demoing during this presentation. Most of them are somewhat tested. We'll see how that goes, but I apologize in advance if something doesn't go quite right. So just getting started with like the absolute baby level intro to rickrolling. I don't even think most threat actors are doing these tricks anymore because they're so simple and most automated systems will not be fooled by any of this. So that's using URL shorteners, using embedded links, so Control K, and then just throwing the link into a chat for fun. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it's funny. So starting with URL shorteners, here is a bit.ly link that goes somewhere I'm sure no one can guess. There's also a QR code if you would like to scan any of the links I have on screen. I did that for every single link. Uh, I think you guys can take my word for some of these earlier ones, but some of the later ones, maybe you want to have the link yourself to look at and deconstruct. So that will be for every link in the presentation that actually works. So why use a URL shortener? It helps you. Thank you guys for scanning my link. I appreciate it. I really do. So why should you shorten a URL? It helps you disguise the actual content and the actual URL of your link. So instead of seeing that that's a YouTube link that maybe you should be a little suspicious of, or a phishing link to mydrisoft or whatever.com, you just see tinyurl.com. You kind of trust tinyurl.com, so you might click on it to see what's in there. Some of the downsides are that everyone, even less technically savvy people, will see tinyurl, goo.gl, or whatever the other URL shorteners are. And they might be a little suspicious of that because they know that that's not like actual content they're going to get and that there's something hidden in there. So if you just throw a tinyurl link out there, people might hesitate to click on it. Also, most modern email filtering for the phishing angle will not be fooled by this at all because they look at the final destination of the link. So they'll follow all of the redirects to the very end and look at the content there to determine if it's malicious. Very rarely used by threat actors, at least from what I've seen. Most of them would not bother to do a URL redirect. They just put the raw link in there, if anything. I also believe at least the more reputable URL shorteners will do abuse takedowns. So that's just another point of failure for the threat actors. So it would be very rare to see something like this used for actual phishing, but it is very useful for rickrolling for sure. Next, again on this sort of like baby's first rickroll level is just Control K. That text right there is a true story. Hey guys, check out this alert in the work group chat. You can get people that way. It's kind of funny. In my opinion, this is the most fun way to rickroll people. You got to keep the fight fair. If you're doing something too crazy, then it's less funny because part of the funny what makes it funny is that they totally could have seen it coming. Embed previews are definitely the enemy. Pro tip, if you're on Discord, if you use the greater than and less than symbols, you can turn off embeds before you send the message. I've been caught many times by forgetting to remove embeds, and then it just shows exactly what it is. You can't really do Control K on Discord. You can do it if you do like a markdown message, but it's kind of annoying to send that. And if you just randomly are sending like markdown messages to random group chats, I think people are going to be a little suspicious of you. This is used by threat actors, maybe not Control K, but most will hide their full URL in some way. So they'll have an image that you click on, which is actually a link. They'll have an HTML button, which is actually a link. Or sometimes they will do Control K in text links like this. One step up from that is just doing the same thing but to a already existing link. So I will click on this one. So as you can see, it said it was I'm leaking Discord. It said that it's Google Docs, but it's really a rickroll. And I just did that with Control K. So the reason why you would do this is people are much less likely to check a link by hovering over it if it looks like they can already see where it's going. So I have seen a phishing email do this before where they had the full link or a full link in the body of the email. So it looked like you were going to, I don't remember what it was for, but it was probably like login.microsoft.com or whatever. But really, if you hovered over the link, it was to .xyz or whatever phishing domain they had set up. That was a fun one. It did not work well for them. It was blocked by the automated scanning tools because the automated scanning tools just look at where the link is going. They don't really look at the text of the link or like what the text of the like on the email that has a link in it, if that makes any sense. So it didn't work, but I did see that in the wild, and I thought it was kind of funny. Um, this one works pretty well for rickrolling if you're trying to do that. So then, just like one level up, we're going to talk about QR codes, throwaway redirect domains, and typo squatting. So here's a random QR code. I see people taking out their phone. I was just trying to demonstrate that people are very curious about QR codes. If you just put a random QR code somewhere, people might just go and scan it without you even having to give them any pretext, because people are just innately curious. So if you give them that option, sometimes they'll go click on it. Another really nice thing about QR codes is that this is the built-in QR code reader on my phone. As you can see, it doesn't say that it's a Rickroll. It just says youtube.com. So if you are smart about what you say the the QR code is, you can get people, yeah.
I'm just going to say, do you often think people are replacing the QR codes outside of like restaurants for their menu, just putting like a copy of their QR code over it?
The question was, do you think people in the real world replace QR codes with malicious ones? I know I've, not in the real world, but like during RITSEC presentations before, there was a QR code for like sources. I totally just cut that out and put a Rickroll in it. So I've done stuff like that before. I don't think anyone fell for that one because no one cared about the sources. It is a real threat, but because it requires like in real life actions, I think it's less prevalent than like anything that can be done online. Because just being in real life just increases the risk for that threat actor. I mean, realistically, no one's going to be like, hey, stop messing with that piece of paper, you fiend. But like it requires them to be geographically in the same place as their victims, which just increases the risk a bunch. But it is something that could happen. So yeah, QR codes are nice because they don't show you the full link, usually. At least for me, it just shows the domain. And then again, it just helps you disguise what you're actually sending, and make people curious about what could be inside of it. So another thing you'll see people rickrolling and threat actors do is use redirect subdomains. So this is a link which hopefully still redirects to a rickroll. I hopefully someone will test that for me. But it's generated by services. This is just a random website I found called instantrickroll.com. Thanks, guys. Cool service. But it uses a random looking domain name and it hides other content behind a redirect on that domain. So threat actors will do this constantly. You will very rarely see a phishing link that has like a reasonable domain name. It'll always be some random string of characters because the domains get taken down really quickly. So you want to hide your real domain that you actually have a web server on. You want to hide that behind several layers of redirections through cheap trash domain names. So anytime you investigate a phishing link, you'll get a bunch of redirects before you get to anything actually interesting. Threat actors will also take over domains for phishing. I've seen this a lot, small businesses especially. You'll see redirects going through like random restaurant pages, especially if threat actors are targeting a specific geographic area. You'll see threat actors take over the domain of like the local coffee shop or the local restaurant or whatever, and then host malicious redirects off that domain. That just lets them bypass some reputation and age checks. So if you're in a SOC, let's say, and you know a bunch of people in your company look at the website for the local coffee shop, you might not be suspicious when you see a bunch of requests for that local coffee shop. You'll just assume, oh, people are thinking about getting coffee after this. When in reality, part of that domain has been taken over and is being used maliciously as part of a phishing attack. It also bypasses some automated checks because these domains that they take over usually have good reputation. They're usually quite old, which most phishing domains are not super old. And it could bypass some checks if you're looking at like who is information and stuff like that, because the registrar is not the actual threat actor. So here's just what I was talking about, redirects through multiple sites to get to your final phishing payload. So you get redirected to the initial link would give you a first stage. Usually that will just redirect you instantly to a second website, which might ask for you to click on something or move the mouse or do something to try to bypass automated scanning measures. Or it could just be a dumb redirect to further stages. Usually one of these stages will not have static content in the site, so it won't just be HTML and CSS. It'll have like encoded JavaScript or something. So it'll automatically generate the website content to make it that much harder for scanning tools to follow the link trail. And then eventually you'll get to some sort of fake form which will try to get information out of you. And finally in this level we have typo squats. So I couldn't find a good Rickroll typo squat. I'm sure they exist. I know there was one for my high school, but has since been taken down. This is where you register names very similar to a real domain name, and then you put malicious content, or in my case, a Rickroll, on that page. It's a very common attack method for legitimate sites, especially if they aren't super big but very commonly used. It's very hard to find a typo squat for like Google.com or a major website like that because they pretty aggressively buy them up. But it's very easy to find a typo squat for the local coffee shop or your own company, because usually they aren't bought quite as aggressively. These are significantly more expensive, which is why you do see them protected by trash, randomly generated cheap TLD domains through redirects, because it is just so much more expensive to register a .com or a .net TLD. And also there's a lot more competition. Anywhere in the vicinity of real English words, the cost of a domain goes up quite a bit. Okay, next level is abusing legitimate sites. So this is the Rickroll which inspired me to make this presentation. It is a Google Docs link, which when you click on it, plays a Rickroll. So this is done through, I'll explain it more on the next slide, but basically you can publish any content on the Google Docs subdomain, because that's what it's for. It's for making custom content. So really you can do whatever you want with it, and you can use that to hide links to other things. You can use that to, theoretically you could just fish directly on Google Forms. I don't know how well that would work for you, but you could do it. But by abusing this ability to create your own content that Google Drive provides to you, you can sort of do whatever you want with their domain within reason. You can host whatever content you want. Most people, I would not expect to see phishing directly happening on Google Drive directly, but definitely redirects through it or further instructions being relayed through Google Drive. And people will innately trust this link because it has that google.com domain name, which is very trustworthy. This is another one I just found online, which is W3 Schools. You click on it and hit run, and it just opens the video. This exploits the fact that people really only look at the TLD. No one is going in and like with the microscope and being like, it says HEJPR right there, that must be malicious. They just look at docs.google.com before they click on it. There are some mitigations you will see for this. For example, GitHub has raw.githubusercontent.com, which is specifically so you can't host like some malicious thing and make it look like it's coming from github.com. So this is that explaining that first link on the last page. So really all that was a Google Slides presentation. The presentation has just a video configured to autoplay inside of it. And then I used Google Slides published to the web feature to publish a presentation that would autoplay. So I love doing this. You just come into share, publish to the web, and then you can set it to start the slideshow as soon as someone clicks on the link, which will autoplay the video. And then you can set other things like how often it automatically advances. This is intended for sharing out slide decks on like a website or embedding slide decks in a website, but you can use it for stuff like this or for getting like an arbitrary like canvas that you can move, that you can like put text and images on as you wish on the Google Docs domain. And then this is an example of a real phishing attack, which uses this. I've seen stuff like this before at work. So this is a legitimate office.com site, but it's hosting user content. And they make it look pretty official with like, there's like Microsoft logos everywhere. It has like all the legalese at the bottom. But then they have this second link, which redirects people elsewhere to actually get credentials from them. And this is something that you can get people to fall for pretty easily if they're trained to only look at the domain of the link they're clicking on, because they went to a Microsoft site and Microsoft must be safe. So now we're getting into some of the really fun stuff. Doing weird stuff with URLs. So this first link, if you just look at it, if you just put it in a chat and people are gonna click on it without really looking at it, it might look like a Google Docs link. It is not actually a Google Docs link. If I click on it, I think this one does actually work. It is actually a Rickroll. Very surprising, I know. And then the second one, I don't think this one actually works. I think Google actually fixed it. Oh, yeah, see, I can't even click on it. But you can hide the domain name if you know enough about how URLs work. This is really just kind of relies on people not being perfect URL parsers. They don't know all the weird stuff you can do with the URL schema. And you kind of just hope people aren't going to look too closely. I've seen both of these exploited together in the wild. So they used both of these techniques to move the actual domain you were going to the middle of the URL, and then they used a number instead of an IP address, which is what both of these techniques are. They used them together, and it was very convincing. It looked like a legitimate Microsoft login link, but if you looked at it, it was actually redirecting you to an arbitrary IP address in Russia. I think that I would fall for this if I got something like that, because it does just exploit the fact that most people look at those first couple characters to try to figure out what a link is going to do. So to explain this first one, I'm explaining the fact that you can have a user in the URL. This first bit that says docs.google.com, is this bit in yellow is actually just a username that I'm passing to youtube.com. So I move the actual domain I'm going to away from the beginning of the URL to the middle of the URL. So most people might not see youtube.com in there. And then I also have to pass in the parameter for the video I want, which is what this purple is. And then this last bit is just so that you don't see the very well-known Rickroll video ID near the end of the URL, because people are most likely to look at the start and the end of the URL when they're trying to decide whether they want to click on it. And then the broken one, this is just explaining the fact that you can pass in decimals instead of IP addresses into URLs for some reason. I'm sure that had a use like 20 years ago for something, but I've never seen it used anywhere else. So I took the IP address of youtube.com and then I converted it into binary, and I converted that binary into decimal. And that is a valid URL for the IP address of youtube.com. Google broke this one. It just redirects to. Oh, I can't even click on it. Hang on. Let me copy paste. So this just redirects to google.com. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. It's still on the IP address. Either way, it doesn't work. This is entirely because of how Google handles things on their backend. This will work for other sites, so it can be used for phishing. Well, I can just look at my laptop. I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, and the final thing at this level is just using ASCII art. So the actual link doesn't matter, or the actual what a computer sees doesn't matter as much as what people see. So a computer sees those all those weird ASCII characters and it doesn't know what's going on, but we see a very lovely gentleman dancing. So you can evade computer systems by checking links through things like ASCII art and weird formatting. So here was one that I remember seeing threat intel reports about. That might look like a QR code. To a computer, that's not a QR code. That is a bunch of random black rectangles in HTML. But it does scan as a QR code. So the threat actors realized that detection methods were becoming sophisticated enough to scan QR codes in emails because that was a method threat actors were using. So they decided, hey, I won't use a QR code. I'll use something that looks enough like a QR code for image recognition to interpret. This one has been obfuscated because it is an actual malicious link and not a rickroll. But by exploiting the fact that this will get rendered by a computer into something that might look very different from what a computer will see, we can embed links in there. And then my favorite level, the old man level, which is me, which is writing a whole presentation just to rickroll everyone. You guys are welcome. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, Kep. Why did I do that? Because I thought it was funny. Next question.
Could you go back one slide?
Yes. I would love to sit on this slide while I ask if there are any other questions. Yeah, Kip.
Are you excited for your next week of break?
Am I excited for break? I'm very excited for break. We have CCEC regionals coming up. I'm not going to get any sleep. It's going to be fun. Yeah, what's up?
What would you use instead of a rickroll to fish somebody that you absolutely hate?
What would I use instead of a rickroll to fish someone I absolutely hate? I don't know. Something loud and obnoxious, and even more loud and obnoxious than never going to give you up. Just like dial-up internet sounds. I don't know. Yeah, James. Have I ever been fished before? I've clicked on phishing links plenty of times. I've never actually entered credentials.
Have you ever gotten got by a company phishing email?
Have I
Test one?
have I ever gotten got by a test phishing email? I don't think I have, but maybe they just haven't told me. But as I was saying earlier, some of these things would totally get me. There was that one. This would totally get me. This link right here. I admit completely I would fall for that. I would definitely click on that. Yeah. How can this be used defensively? So you put your blue team website inside one of these URLs. You then trick red team into going to something they think is your website, but it's actually another team's website. So red team attacks the wrong team and you win. Yeah. How could this be used offensively? You can use it to offend people through the art of a rickroll. Anything else? Okay, thank you guys.